Hey, we're getting set up. There's amateur productions going on here.
I thought she was a chair.
Yeah, I accidentally. And also not quite so low. Those are for y'all to take home, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I have parting gifts. I'm telling y'all. My mama did something. She taught me some stuff. Not a whole lot, but some stuff. Ooh,
You okay? Be careful.
Chair was wider than it looked. All this tail. I'm probably still not gonna fit in here. And that's quite all right with me. All right, so.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3. And Vinky. It's really got to stay all the way back here? All right, well. There it is. Okay, so listen. If you can hear me, say something. Say so. And I'm going to share this on Facebook. As soon as this acts right. Start. You all can share it if you would like as well. Okay, so hey everybody watching. I don't know what to do with this. I'm gonna sit it right up here because I want everybody to hear you.
Oh, that's probably my fault.
Okay. Hi everybody. Oh my gosh, we are all in one. Yay! So naturally cinnamon here. Even though the camera's there, the microphone's there, so just kind of keep that in mind. We are here to discuss quite literally what I put, sisterhood amongst sisters. And we have myself, Naturally Cinnamon.
I'm Ronnie. Kiki.
Natalie.
Nikki.
Okay, so I invited just a few ladies here to discuss sisterhood amongst sisters. And I'll very, very briefly, we had a very good discussion that was not on camera.
Yes.
But I will very briefly share the background of this. Is because I experienced and have experienced actually for pretty much my entire life not being included in the culture is what I'll call it, in the culture because of very different reasons. Not speaking a certain way, not eating a certain food. These are things I've been told to my face. Don't live in a certain type of neighborhood. Because both my parents were married before they had me. You know, black people don't do that. I was told that. Just a series of things over my life that I've been told. And then here I am as an adult in 2019 and I experienced yet another woman older than me telling me to my face that I was blissfully ignorant of my culture. So, it kind of just stuck me because I was just like, so how long is this going to go on? Yeah, so that is why I am here to bring these ladies here. I have an eclectic group of women who have their own experiences, their own life experiences. And one of the last questions we were left with before we decided to start recording was, we talked about how some of the same, rules, I guess, unspoken and spoken rules are still being told. Things that we can say, things that we can't say, things that we can wear, things that we can't wear, places we should go, places we shouldn't go. And these rules, spoken and unspoken, are given by us to us. And it's just, but then we turn around and preach self-acceptance and acceptance of each other and queen and sisterhood. It's confusing. I'm confused. I ain't gonna say it. I'm confused. So I want to open the floor. If you have any comments, please type them in. I'll be able to read them. I do have another phone here, so I'll be able to read them. But I want to open the floor to the ladies. What have been some of your experiences, good and bad, just across the board with sisterhood amongst the sisters?
Well, I think what you should do is give the example that you gave about Lizzo, Lizzo versus the Lady Gaga. Why don't you tell that story?
Okay. We talked about a few different things.
Yeah.
But one of the things that came up was Lizzo and the outrage that went across. And I listened to a few different podcasts, and so I listened to about 3 or 4 different podcasts that talked about the same issue, and just hearing different thoughts and feelings. But apparently, and for those who don't know, what happened was Lizzo at a Lakers game was just a couple of nights, maybe a week ago? I don't even think it was a week ago.
Yeah, maybe a little less.
Yeah. Went to a Lakers game, and during the halftime show, the dancers or cheerleaders, whoever they are, I don't really watch sports, so I don't know the proper name of the dancers were dancing to her song. Not Truth Hurts, which one? I don't remember which song it was right now. It's like, whichever one it was. Juice. That's the one. They were dancing to Juice. And so Lizzo had been sitting there with a t-shirt dress on and I think some booties. I thought it was a pretty cute outfit. And so she was standing up and she was jamming along to her own song, rapping to the lyrics. And then at the end of the song, she turns around and starts to twerk. And that's when you see there's a giant hole cut out of the back of her dress. And you can see her entire behind. And she starts twerking and she's wearing a thong. And cue the outrage. On some of the points that were brought up, was, why would she do that? Why would she, and granted, me personally, if I take my children and go out on a date or whatever to a game, I don't know if I want to see anybody's beer behind twerking. I don't know if that's what I want to see, but I don't also think I would be angry if I did. I mean, whatever, it's LA. It's LA. But, the question was, it was about her and who she is and why she has, this big platform and why would she do that? Well, I remember at the time when Lady Gaga was wearing meat, and she was saying certain things. It was mostly about how she would appear and how she would show up to different events and galas, the Met Gala and stuff like that. And people were very upset about it. It's like, why is she wearing the meat? Why is she doing, and all this stuff? And it's a gimmick. It was a gimmick. And to me, it's like, okay, Lizzo playing the flute and twerking is kind of how she got noticed for being in an industry that she was in for many years before she got famous, I guess. And so she was capitalizing off of what made her famous. That's the way I thought about it. But the question that I think we raised was, why was it
such an outrage
from our community for her when we're supposed to be rallying around each other? And I remember, I think black people just kind of looked at Lady Gaga like, oh, there go another little crazy white girl. There was really not an outrage from our community.
I was like, white people.
Right. White people do white people things, right.
And no, I'm not trying to take things and make them racial issues. I'm just calling a spade a spade.
Right.
I'm sharing what my observations are, and it's when it's us, I would like to think that we would rally around each other during some of those times, but we're kind of the ones, we are so brutal to each other. And I just don't understand. So which is it? Are we for each other or not?
Now, I have to say, my initial thought when the whole thing came out, I was like, come on, sis. Like, she has such a major platform now, and she is a role model, whether she likes it or not. She is. And we have our younger kids that's coming up, and they're looking at this. This is not what we want coming out from one of our superstars, from somebody that's so public with such a large platform. Like, why did you do that? Like, there are so many other things that okay, fine, you dance, fine, cover your behind. Like, we've already been devalued, and there's such a negative stigma on us already. So now here she is, this big star, like, and this is what you do? Like, come on, sis. Just think about what you're doing. So be a little bit more responsible.
I'm sorry. My question, because I have no idea, I had not heard about this until you guys just mentioned it like 5 minutes ago. Was the outcry because she turned around and was on camera? Was it okay when her butt was not to the camera and it was only the people?
I'm quite sure everybody behind her could see it.
Right.
She had
so
a
was
jacket.
That okay?
Initially, when she came in, she had a jacket over her dress. Because they showed her walking in the back, you know, where the basketball players walk through and the camera follows them. She had a jacket on when she first walked into the arena. And then when she sat down, then she did whatever she did. That's when you finally saw it. So I don't think initially at the time they didn't see it.
Okay.
Because she had a jacket over it, like a trench, kind of like a trench coat.
There's a time and a
while
place.
she was
No. While she was up.
While she was up, no, she didn't have it on.
So while she was
Right.
dancing, the people, everybody sitting behind her got the view, and that was okay. But
No,
when
it's
she,
not
when
okay.
she, but now I'm asking,
Yeah.
so the
Oh, if
outcry-
she had danced with her behind covered up, I think it would have been
well,
okay.
not even with it covered up, in the same outfit that she had on. But if she had just stayed like where she was forward facing to the camera, where only the people who got the back view were the people behind her, would that have been okay?
It's still not okay.
That's what they can't
I mean, it would. The
All those
media,
people
of
sitting behind
course.
her.
But they
in the
weren't
arena.
up with their cameras.
Okay.
They were just kind of like.
So
Either
it's
way.
okay if a few people see you behind, but when you turn around and it's on the
And the
national
world
stage,
see it.
it's
Which-
when it's a problem.
I mean, I don't know
It
who
wasn't-
doesn't know what Lizzo's butt looks like
Right,
at this
Right,
point.
'cause
So,
all the time.
all the time. Every time I go onto Instagram and there's a picture of her, 93% of the time her behind is out. Like,
But is
her
it?
behind.
But in this case, is it not what she did, but how she did it?
It's where, it's how, it's like, it just wasn't.
Because
the
her performance or her
And her show
image
is
and her
fine.
shows is fine because that's who she is. So if I'm paying to see Lizzo, I'm paying to see her twerk, play her flute, get down with her little background dances and everything. But at a Laker game or wherever I'm at, I'm not paying to see you. I'm paying to see them. So I think it's not what she did. I think it's how she did it that
Or
makes
where
the
she did
difference.
it.
Or
Where?
where she did it that makes the difference.
But with that thought process, if part of her persona is because let me just say this. I have no idea about any of Lizzo's music.
Okay.
The only thing I know about her is that I've seen her on Instagram. I've seen her in other places,
Right.
and every time I've seen her, she has on revealing outfits
Yeah.
in her butt with whatever. So if part of her persona, from what I'm understanding, is this is her look, then dare we say every time she steps out in
You
public,
have to expect
she's
this.
performing.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So if that's
She's
who
a brand.
she's a brand,
She's
and
a
if part of
brand,
her
yeah.
brand is for her to look and carry herself a certain way, even if she's going to a basketball game, if she's going to the grocery store, she's performing.
That's true. Yeah.
So who are we to say when it's appropriate for her to perform? Because we're comfortable if you do it on stage,
Right.
but we aren't comfortable if you do it from the sideline. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Or is,
I'm comfortable if you do it from the side. Your behind
It's
to
your-
do with what you
Right.
want.
do you, sis, if that's what make you happy and that's what get the money in the account? Because guess what? Everybody's talking about it.
Right. That's true.
If she had been there in some jeans and a t-shirt doing
Everybody
the
would-
exact
everybody
thing,
would have some
nobody would
sort of-
have
Right.
said, I would not have known
Right,
anything happened.
Right.
But because she did it the
She's
way that
got
she
more
did
attention
it,
and publicity from it.
so
right.
dare we say it's working?
But
Yeah.
the outrage, the outcry, from my understanding, because of course by the time I found out about it, it was maybe a day or 2 days after it had happened. From my understanding, because I ain't on Twitter, but
not
that's
there.
where the outrage came from.
Right.
Like Twitter.
Like
That's from what I heard.
Right.
I don't know. That's what I heard. I
Right.
don't know if that's true. If that's where it came from, but it's like if that is true, why? Why is it us? Why did we? Why?
Because she's not tiny.
Oh,
so you think it was body shaming?
Body
It always,
shaming.
with her, most of the time, it always is. Everybody has something to say because of her size.
That's a whole nother.
That's,
That's a
wild.
whole nother CinnaChat. Be revisited. That's another CinnaChat, honey. Yes.
That's what it is.
But it's
probably body type and also race.
Yeah.
Because when Cardi B does it, and complexion.
Right.
When Cardi B does it, it's not a problem.
It's to be expected.
It's to be expected. When Rihanna does it, or Beyonce does it.
Beehive don't come for me. When Beyonce
I don't care.
It is what it
But I love
is.
Beyonce.
And the one of the podcasts I listened to said that just a couple days or just right after this Lizzo incident happened, Beyonce started I guess marketing the new Ivy Park line.
Right.
And one of the things that she did, she was facing the
Mhm.
camera.
Right.
And what do you see?
Most
Booty
of her
cheeks.
behind her.
Right.
And that
Not
was okay.
a single
Where was
person
she though?
on Instagram.
She was taking a picture.
It was
just a picture for,
Yeah.
for I think
It
it
was
was
a
in a
picture.
magazine.
Was it okay?
I think it's
Yeah.
for a magazine.
But not a single person had a problem with that. As a matter of fact, I think the sales skyrocketed.
When
But
Nicki
it was
Minaj
like-
do it, they don't got no problem because that's her brand.
But,
Uh-huh.
but
Yeah.
not just that. Maybe let's just say Lizzo has a unitard for big girls
Okay.
line, and she promoted it in the same way. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think as many people would have had as much of a problem with it. Even if it was her size, I think it's that we're still, let me go back to what I was saying before, we are still telling ourselves, our community, what we can and can't do. These are the parameters. It's spoken, it's unspoken. You can't go out of that, you crossed the line. See, I can't back you up, now you done crossed the line. Well, what is the line?
Right.
What is it? What's the line? Because we were perfectly fine with her being like, oh, she on the back of Music Awards. Oh, she on there. Oh, look at my girl.
Right.
Oh, that's what she's doing it. And she's twerking with her bare behind showing.
Right.
And we loved it. But, you can't do that. Well, who told her that?
Right.
Did anybody tell her that?
Who decides?
Who decides it? And then who told her that wasn't okay? That, we're not gonna back you if you do that. What are the expectations? What are the rules? What can we do or not do? What are we supposed to do? There's just I have so many questions because I'm confused.
Right.
For me, it's pretty much there's a time and a place for everything. And I know the way that I was raised, the way that I was taught, that there's a way that you behave in certain places, and then certain things are acceptable, and then certain things are not. There are certain things that you do at home, and then there are certain things that you do when you're out in the public. That's the way I was raised. So that's kind of the standard that I hold, not just Lizzo, people to.
Right.
Because we all pass judgments, and I think my judgments that I pass is based on how I was raised and what I know and what I do for myself. So I kind of look at you, Natalie. You could be out there twerking at a Lakers game. I'll be like, what, Natalie? Really, man?
That has everything to do with who she is. I'm like football tackle now. If I think I turn around, girl, I don't do that.
I would encourage her. I would get beside her.
Right.
Do it together.
Right.
I am here to support.
Right.
I'm one that likes to have fun, but I know what's appropriate and what's not. I would never be the one to go to a Lakers game and in front of everybody just kind of like turn. That's just not how I carry myself. But you get me at home at a house party. Now I'm not a good twerker, but I will try. So that's how. So I hold everybody kind of to that standard that I hold myself to. And I'm nobody to be able to judge Lizzo, but I'm thinking like, Lizzo, sit down. Don't do that right here. It's okay, fine. If that's your brand, that's your thing on stage, great. If it's working for you, great. But when you're out representing in the public, like, don't do that. Don't do it like that.
But
there
that's
has
the
to be
thing.
some kind of...
When that is your brand, you are representing everywhere you go at all times.
Right.
Anytime
Every time you
somebody
step out the
sees
door.
you,
Well,
that's
let's
what they
clean up
expect
your
from you.
brand.
But her brand is
Yeah.
what's making her money.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Her
what it
brand is what has
Yeah,
her.
it is.
She's something with time. You guys said earlier.
Yeah,
that's
she's the
because her
entertainer of
brand.
the year.
Her brand is working the way it is. Now, I agree with you that we were all raised with a certain set of norms and values, but those are ours. Is
Right.
it fair of us to
put
put
it
that
on
on other people?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how you were raised and brought up in your household.
Right.
And what is normal for me now, even with that being the case, yes, we all know that when you go to work, you dress a certain way,
Right.
you behave and you carry yourself a certain way. When you out doing whatever on
Depending
your
on
off
where you
time,
work.
it's different, right? Depending upon
Right.
where you work,
Right.
right? Like if you work in certain environments, you can't dye your hair purple because it's not going to be accepted in
that environment.
But that does not mean that because your hair is dyed purple that I should look down on you. That's your personal thing, and especially if it's your off time and if it's your brand, as Nikki was saying, then sis, do you go get all the dollars?
Right.
Go get all of them
And
and
see,
be
I think,
great.
and I think when it came to sisterhood amongst sisters, that's what I was hoping to hear more of. Like she first of all, she is exhibiting a body positivity that
Right.
we say we want our
Right.
children to learn.
Right.
Right.
That's what we say.
Right.
And now I'm like, well, your same children are hearing you bashing this woman because her whole platform is body positivity.
Right.
That's her entire platform.
Right.
It's not, hey, look at me, I want to do this, and it's like, no, I'm showing you body, and I'm sure she still has her moments. She's human, but it's confusing. It is just confusing, and it's not to mean that anybody's right, wrong, or otherwise. It's just like, okay, so what messages are we sending and what's being received? Because sometimes what we send isn't what is the way it's received, the way we send it. But what are we sending and what's being received? Because I think what I was waiting for, because I heard the outcry and I just waited for a day or two, because I think what I was waiting for was to hear more of the sisterhood to say, listen, she's doing body positivity. She's showing what that looks like for her. That may not be what it looks like for you,
Right.
but she's showing you that it is possible to have it, and this is what it looks like for her. You need to learn what it looks like for you. And she making her coins at the same time.
Right.
Legally.
Right. Right.
And it was just like I was waiting to hear more of that, and I did hear some. I just didn't hear as much as I thought that I would hear in this age in 2019 when we so sister oriented and queen, and my queen and my sister and my sister queen and all this other stuff. I was like, but where's sister queens? Where's that at? Where's the Taraji P. Henson meme that's clapping? Like, where's that at? And then we get Miss South Africa crowned Miss Universe, and here everybody is again. Woo! Oh yes, sisters. Here go the sisters again. It's like, where were we a couple days ago? Do we take breaks? Do we not? I don't know. Do we not speak up for certain things? Speak up for certain, I don't know.
I was not pleased with what Lizzo did, but I would never turn to Twitter, Instagram,
Right.
whatever, trying to bash her publicly. I would never do that. And so I think that could be maybe why you didn't hear from the queens uplifting her, because that wasn't, to a lot of queens, queen behavior. It wasn't. It wasn't queen behavior. So the queens are not going to sit there and be like, go Lizzo. Like, no.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm not, but it wasn't queen behavior.
And
so
again,
I think
I'm not
maybe
on Twitter, so
that could
on
be.
Twitter, there was more. Of
There
that,
could have been,
but
because I'm not on Twitter
Twitter,
either. But I know, me personally, I'm not ever gonna go out there and bash you. Like, I might have my own opinion about what you did, but in the end, that's you. Because I don't want to hear from you when I do something that you feel upset the culture. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just doing me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you didn't like it, but that's your issue, not mine. So, although I had my opinion about it, I didn't get out there and tweet about it or bash her in any kind of way. Well, now I am on Facebook.
Yeah.
But then when you do see the Miss Universe, Miss USA, when we do see positive stuff like that, yes. That's what I want to spread. I want to talk about the positive things and not so much the negative things. So I think that's why you saw more of the, all right, queen, that's queen behavior. That's what, I mean.
But see, that's the thing. Whose job is it to decide what's
Right.
positive and
Right.
what's not? Like, why is it that I can't love myself fully at however I am? I have to be a certain way in order for me to love myself and for other people to love me loving myself. Why do I have to do it that way? Why can't I just love
that brings
myself?
up the question: is it possible to truly, authentically love yourself if you're putting yourself in the parameters that other people will love you?
No, it's not.
No.
Because
You could
the
lose
needle
your
continues to
authenticity.
move.
Yeah.
The needle move based upon whomever
Right.
you're setting your standard by. So today they could say, well, the standard is purple, and then you do purple, but then tomorrow they say, well, the standard is actually yellow.
Right.
So what you gonna do with all your purple?
Right.
Because it's constantly moving. It has to be internal and what works.
Right.
for you.
What works
Like
for you.
if you think queen behavior is one thing and I don't, then guess
Then
what?
it's not.
You do that type queen. I'm gonna do this type.
Right,
queen.
right.
And we both gonna be queen.
Right.
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 Just different.
I just-
That's
That's
right.
right.
We're both going to be
Because
queens.
it takes a whole
Yes.
different. We all can't be the same.
Right.
Right.
If we all needed to be the same, God would have created us
Right.
all the
Exactly.
same.
Right.
But He didn't
That's
for a
true.
reason.
Right.
Because
I
the
agree.
texture and the variety, and we all bring different things to the table.
Right.
What Lizzo brings, what Beyonce brings, what Queen Latifah brings, they're all different,
Right.
but they are of no less value.
Right.
So that's what I think.
And I think as black people, I think a lot of times we talk at each other and we talk about each other instead of talking to each other. And, you know, we're not really,
in front of your face. So I'm
sorry,
going to move it.
we're not very gentle and kind to one another. You know, if I don't agree with something that you do, that's my own personal opinion, but I can not agree with it, but still respect you and your decisions and your lifestyle at the same time. And a lot of people don't have that skill
Right.
where they know how to separate, okay, well, I don't agree with it, but at the end of the day, because you are a woman and because you are my sister, that's your life, I'm still going to respect whatever decision it is that you want to do and whatever it is that you think you want to do. And a lot of people don't have that, they don't know how to separate that. They want to place their values, their opinions, their beliefs on people when truth be told, like, I didn't grow up like you didn't grow up like me.
Right.
So if I want to go out there and twerk, you want to go out there, you don't want to do that, that's fine. But at the end of the day, let's just encourage one another. And if you feel as though that I'm doing something that may be taking the devaluing me as a woman, you can pull me to the side and say, you know what? I love you, and I'm saying this out of love, but you're doing X, Y, and Z, and it's not healthy for you mentally. You see the temporary, the temporary goodness of whatever it is you're doing, but you don't see the permanent effect it could have as far as what you're doing right now. So you can just pull the sister to the side and talk to her, and y'all can have a healthy conversation.
Most people don't want to pull
Yeah.
nobody to the side. They want to be loud.
Right,
So that
and be
everybody
seen.
knows.
media.
I want
Right.
you to know that I feel this way about what you
Right.
did. I feel this way
Yeah.
about what you said. And I want everybody else to feel the same way I do about you.
Right.
And
That's
then
true.
that is not actually about me. That's
About you.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
But when
Right.
you come to somebody and you pull them to the side,
Right.
you had a private conversation. I think it evokes and people get your genuineness that you're
Right.
genuinely
Right.
concerned
Right.
about me, as opposed to doing it publicly. Because
Right.
it's not about you being concerned
It's something about me, right?
You're trying to get whatever you're
Because
trying
coming
to
Yeah,
at me
right.
loud gets me to come back at you
get.
loud.
Right.
And there will be no
Immediately.
conversation.
Right, exactly.
No communication will take place. Effective
Right.
communication
No,
will
healthy
not take place.
communication.
Right.
No.
And so, see, that's a sisterhood lesson, though, that needs learning, so to speak.
Right.
Which brings me to another point. That same event that I was at, one of the very first questions that was asked was, who in here was taught how to be a friend? And I raised my hand. And if I had to guess, I don't have very good spatial recognition. If I had to guess, there was probably about 35 to 40 women in this room. I'll say 30 to 35 women in this room. I am the lone hand in the air. Not another woman had her hand in the air. I wanted to cry because I was like, who raised y'all? Nobody in here has somebody to say, hey, you know what? that's not friendship behavior.
Right.
What you're doing. You know what? If you do this, you know, a friend should do this. I was like, oh my God. And so to hear what you guys just described as what a sister would do to pull, you know, let's say pull your coat, let me know my slip is hanging.
Right.
Let me know, tell me.
Right.
Push my tag.
Right.
Right. Girl, look.
Right.
Don't nobody even wear slips no more.
Thank you.
We are quick to say somebody need to tell her.
Somebody.
You're somebody.
Right.
Why don't you
And
be
you
that
do
somebody?
it. Like,
Right.
you are somebody. And do it like, listen, sis. I've had a slip fall too. I get it.
Right.
Okay.
I got some
Sometimes we
pins
keep
in
them
my
a little
Right,
too
I
long.
got
Right.
some pins in my
Pin it
purse.
up if you need
Sometimes
any
we keep
help.
the slips a little too long.
Right.
And the elastic wears out. Everything is still good. But you put it on and it slide a little bit. So listen. You might need to tuck it, roll it. You can go ahead and rip the seam and tie it.
Yep.
There's lots of ways you can fix it.
Cut a hole in it. Yep.
Listen.
Yeah.
Take it off.
Listen.
Right.
I ain't gonna say take it off because I don't know what you got going on.
Right.
You might need it. I don't know.
Right.
But I mean, why can't we do that? And the thing is, like you said, with social media society, with the text message society, with the screenshot society, with the cancel culture, all this other stuff we got going on, who's teaching anybody? And I wanna say the next generation, but
No,
who's
the
teaching
next
my own
generation is learning. Okay, her slip
I'm
hanging.
teaching my
Let me get my
generation.
cell phone.
Like,
and
yeah.
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
next thing you know,
Right.
it's a
I'm teaching the
meme.
ones in the next generation at my house.
Right. And it's like, but I got the ones in my generation that is clueless. And I'm like, okay, so I would like to help y'all too, because y'all the ones I have to interact with, unfortunately. And if we're going to interact even on a loose basis, we got to kind of get this, at least some basic sisterhood lessons.
Right.
Just some basic stuff. We ain't got to dish. We don't have to go to happy hour. We don't have to do none of the things.
Right.
But we got to have some basic level stuff going on. And it's like, I don't even know where I'm going. It's like, how do we? Maybe we need to start naming what are some of the basic sisterhood things that we're not seeing. I don't know. Where do we go with that?
I want to say the first thing is trust, because it's very hard to trust people nowadays, especially because people, like you said, on social media or people in general. It doesn't matter if it's your family, somebody you go to church with, somebody you work with, somebody. It doesn't matter. A stranger. It doesn't matter. It's hard to trust people because you don't know what their intent is. What is your motivation for wanting to be connected to me? Do you have a positive motivation, or are you looking to gain something that you're trying to deplete out of me and not put in me, invest in me? Because to have a relationship with somebody, or even sisterhood, we have to invest in one another. And it ain't just I take, and not put in. It's we're both taking from each other, but what we take, we're also putting back into each other as well. So I have to be able to trust you. And a lot of times you don't know, okay, well, if I tell her something personal about me, is she going to go tell my business? Is she going to go post it on social media? Is she going to flip it around and try to manipulate the situation? Is she going to sleep with my man? Is she going to spread my business? What is she going to do? What is it? So that's the first thing that I notice.
Okay.
And you don't know who you can trust nowadays because people just, they always have a point to prove. Social media is about having a point to prove. I got to prove to you. That's why people be having them screenshots. I got to prove my point. So let me post these screenshots on here. Let me make this long paragraph status because I got a point to prove. And I got receipts. I got a point to prove.
I think that's where our problem is
Right.
with all of these reality shows and
Right.
this mean girl. Like, even on the reality shows, the friendships aren't real.
Toxic.
You're
So
talking
toxic.
about learning how to be a
Yeah.
friend.
There's nothing real about reality.
No.
It's not, but
No.
to the young
reality
audience or
they-
to
they-
the people,
mine
they
can't
think
either.
that it is.
Right.
And that's what we see. And that's the message that's being
Put
sent.
out there, right.
And so now, like you guys know, like these, especially the housewives of Atlanta, like they started off good and then it just went to the left. And I think that it's now like it's an epidemic. You hear everybody quoting Nene and everybody,
right.
you don't even know how to be in a friendship and a relationship. And it's the messaging that's out there. We're just bombarded with all of these negative messages and images, and it's just too much.
It's exhausting.
How do we, I don't know if I want to use the word combat or compliment. I don't know.
What's the fix?
Yeah, what's the rest of it?
How do we get around it? How do we,
But
do we need to just throw out as many positive messages as negative messages going out? And if so, how do we do that?
It's a
It's not gonna
personal.
It's
Yeah.
not gonna work.
No,
People don't
because you
see
have
that.
to want.
Right.
You have to want
these
it.
things. And if you don't want it, it don't matter how much you see.
Right.
You're not gonna feed into it.
Right,
You don't care.
right.
Because that's not what,
And you
to me,
attract-
is what's
you attract
going
what you
in,
want.
garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
And so now with the younger generation now raising their kids, they're raising their kids on this garbage.
Yeah.
And so that is the garbage that is coming out.
I think it starts at home.
It
So
does.
it's up to us as mothers, as sisters, as aunts, and whatever relationships we have where we have influence and whatever
Right.
our sphere of influence is. What is it that we want to see?
Right.
How do I
Right.
want our friendship to be?
Right.
Then that's what I need to give out, because I can't expect you to give me something that I'm not giving
Exactly.
you.
Right.
So
Exactly
Sure.
what my grandma told me.
Yeah.
She said,
Exactly.
if you want to be a friend,
You
you have to
treat
be the
people
type
the
of
way
friend that you want to have.
That's right.
If you're not going to
That's
be good
Bible.
to people are not going
They're
to be
not.
good to you.
Right.
Treat people
The same
the
thing
way
I
that
tell
you
my
want
daughter.
to
You
be
have to be the
treated.
type of person you want people to be. And you also have to remember that y'all are children still. What y'all care about now, y'all not going to care about
no.
in 2 weeks.
No.
You're not going to care about none of this stuff. So why be
No.
mad at each other over foolishness?
No.
But then the thing that,
Piggyback on that.
yes.
Piggyback on that. Big up. For those of you watching who don't know, that was my radio announcement.
Right.
Your TV
Who don't know. This is Nikki. She's my best friend. We've been best friends for 31 years and counting.
Right.
And so exactly what she's saying, I have heard this repeated for 31 years because grandma told her that. Now here's the thing. We reached in our 31-year friendship, there were times when there was things that she was interested in, I was not interested in.
Right.
There were times when things that I was like all in for, she was just like, oh, but it never at any
I'll support
point.
you.
Right.
Anybody
Right,
said,
Right.
girl, why you like that? Like,
Yeah,
I ain't down with that.
Right.
That's you, boo. Do you?
Right.
Never at any point. If it wasn't something that was going to harm us,
That's
there was
okay.
harm involved. There's a different kind of person
Right.
showing up. Because now we lacing up tennis shoes and we going to find
Pulling
Right.
Put Vaseline on our face.
Right.
Now you trying to bring harm to my girl, and I can't have that.
Right.
I can't. That right there. That's where the other person shows up. But aside from you bringing harm, if there's no harm coming to her,
Why am I upset with what you do?
Right.
If what you doing does not directly affect me, like it's not gonna hurt me or you, I have no problems with it.
Right.
However, if you are doing something that's gonna hurt you, even in the slightest, and I can see it, and I will let you know, hey, listen, I see where this is going, and you should probably turn around. Go to the left, to the right. Don't keep straight.
Right.
Go somewhere else because it's not safe. This road, please.
Right.
but yeah, and I just don't know that people are learning that, and where
Starts at
would
home.
they learn it from? Like
It starts at home. I know.
What if what's
She
at
said her
home
grandmother
don't know?
taught
That's
her.
true.
That's where I think that's where your aunts and your
Somebody.
teachers at school,
Somebody
your
has to know.
mentors, somebody where you can see it. Like I didn't learn how to be a friend from what my parents told me. I learned how to be a friend from what my parents showed me, because my parents were friends to people.
Right.
And so
Right.
from that example, I learned how to be a friend.
Right.
My children are learning how to be friends, not from the things that my husband and I say to them, but from what we do and how we interact with our friends and how our friends interact, not just with us, but with them.
Right.
That's how you learn. So it's in that circle. It's in who you surround yourself with. If you have children, who you surround your children with, because everybody can't come for my household. Everybody can't come up in our space.
Right.
And that don't mean just the four walls.
Right.
That means into our lives.
Right.
If you're invited into our lives in any way where you're going to have some type of effect on my children.
Right.
No, I have to know that we have things in common, that we're like-minded. So if you're talking to my child and I'm not around, I got to know you're not telling my child something crazy.
Right.
And if my child come to you and tell them something crazy, I got to know that what you're going to say back to them is something that'll be in line with what my husband and I would say to my children. So I can trust you. Like, I can trust you with my child because I know you're not going to tell her to go and do something that is going to have me having to go and kill her.
First thing I know, your parents know about this?
Right.
They do? Okay, let me check.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And that makes it because what
I'm uncomfortable, so I didn't know if you said this is okay.
Right.
Yeah, they're seeing it, and when they see it and they see it consistently, they begin to model it.
Yep.
And that's how things, I believe that's how things begin to change, is one person at a time. We can't expect for Nene to do it. Why? Because that's Nene brand.
Right.
Nene is making major money.
Millions.
Being whoever she is on her show.
Right.
Whoever the other people in reality TV, they getting paid. That's how they support their households.
Right.
Don't expect them to change because you don't agree with the behavior on camera. Because you expecting, just like Lizzo, you affecting their money, so they're gonna do what they need to do to bring them funds into their house in order to keep up whatever their lifestyle and whatever their commitments are.
Right.
So don't expect it to come from outside. It has to come inside. We have to stop giving people the power and that influence. Yeah, that's great and it's real entertaining, but it's not real. Like reality shows have writers.
There's nobody to tell our kids, or there are people, but somewhere we're failing with telling our kids and some of our adults that this is not real.
Right.
Like, you can't in the real world go out and act like that and expect for things to be all good.
But see, that's the thing. You can tell them, but if they have in their mind that if I do this, if then that conditional, if I do this, then I will get this. It don't matter what you say, how you said, how often you said. They're gonna believe what they want to believe.
That's true.
And right now they're believing that messaging that's out there, that this is the way. Oh, if Nene could do it and get a show, maybe I could do it. And I don't know
what on the internet fool you.
That's all.
Thank you.
Don't let them fool you. Listen.
Right.
And that's the message that we received when we were kids. We didn't have the internet, we didn't have all that, but it's like, don't let your little friends get you cased up.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
Like, don't let what's out there mess up what you got going on in here. Which is a message that can go across many platforms.
If the adult that's raising the child is not grounded in reality, then they can't send that messaging to their child.
That's true.
Example, when I was teaching in high school, there was a talent show. Talented kids. You have this one kid that gets up there. He cannot sing. He cannot carry a tune. But his talent is singing, and his family is the only one in the audience. Yes!
Oh, Lord.
They get totally upset, bent out of shape when he didn't place in the talent show.
I have a question, because a lot of times I had a friend who was like that. She swore me up and down that she could sing, and I recorded her one day. She was like, "Who is that?" You. That is you. This is what you sound like.
Here's the thing, though. Nobody told this child that he could not sing. And so his behavior now is he gets totally upset that he didn't play. Oh, they cheated. Oh, they hating. The hating. That's they hating on me. No, boo.
We're not good.
Even the guy that's playing the piano is like, I don't even know where he. Like,
I'm gonna just let you do this.
But they weren't. My point is,
you are talented.
They were not grounded in reality, so they were not being truthful and honest with him. Like, this is just not your gift. Let's try to find your gift.
Maybe it's writing the music and not actually performing.
But this is what I feel like is happening, that there's no one to, if the adult in the child's life is not grounded in reality, and they can't teach it. Right. They don't have it in them to teach the next generation.
They seek out another adult to be auntie, godmama, whatever. Because now they feel like that person is negating whatever they are trying to impart in their child, which they think is correct or the way of the world. And it's like, okay, that's a way. It's not the
way.
way. And so what happens is then when they do become old enough to go out and venture out, what has now been raised? What has now been encouraged?
The product of their environment.
That's what it is.
Well, what I've noticed, and this is just, I don't have any kids, but as a teacher, I play more than a role than just a teacher. Because a lot of times I'm a therapist too, to not only the child, but to the parent. And what I've noticed is that a lot of these parents who are our age or who are even older, a lot of them they're broken. Like they are. And they have a broken girl or a broken boy within them. And what ends up happening is that the child in them has not caught up to the adult in them. So what ends up happening is that now whatever poison has been put into them, they're spewing it out into their child. And that child is not receiving I'm not going to say the correct beliefs, but I don't want to say the correct ones, but just beliefs and a mentality and just values that are I don't say proper, but just healthy. That's a good word, healthy. They're not toxic. And what ends up happening is that when you have a child who was so used to chaos and you're trying to show them the correct way, they're used to the chaos. That's just like us. Or anybody, I'll give an example. When you're in an abusive relationship and somebody's trying to help you get out of an abusive relationship, you're used to the chaos. You are. You're used to getting hit. You're used to being talked about, being called every other name. And it's so hard for you to even conceive, well, what would happen to me if I got out of this? Because no longer would I have to go through this anymore. And I know this isn't right for me, but my routine won't be the same. Therefore, that means I got to change now. And change is hard. It is. It's very hard. And the thing and I do agree with you, it does take a teacher, it takes an auntie, an uncle, somebody to help these children, or even the parent see a different way. But the thing is that when you become used to the chaos and you become complacent in it, it's like now you don't have the room to get out the comfort zone. You don't want to get out the comfort zone.
It's hard.
Right, it's hard.
Let me read a comment that just came through. It says, kids need to know all superstars had a hard road before they made it. Anything worth having is going to take time and hard work, whether it's singing, acting, professional sports, or the CEO of Goldman Sachs.
Right. I agree.
I agree to a degree.
To a degree.
Because these stars nowadays, they don't have it hard like how the ones back then had it, like the Temptations had it. Like Diana Ross had it. They had to literally go out there and literally prove themselves. All they got to do is put themselves on some social media.
They know the right.
And not all of them, but a lot of them do. But a lot of
right
them.
Clickbait.
Yes.
The right algorithm.
Right.
Whatever the case.
Right. But it's easier though. But it's easier. Yeah.
I
It's
think
easier.
It depends.
It depends.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Like we live in a day and age of instant, so people want to be instant famous. You have enough followers on your YouTube channel, you can get and you can become. But then you also have people like I was watching a perfect example. I was watching Love and Basketball yesterday. I didn't realize how many people we see right now. Gabrielle Union was in Love and Basketball. Didn't realize that. How Love and Basketball is like over
episode. I don't know.
Love and Basketball.
We're gonna get back to that. Thank you for saying that.
Love and Basketball is a movie.
You never seen Love and Basketball?
And Omar S.
Oh Lord.
You know what I thought you were talking about Basketball Wives.
No, I don't know.
Love and Basketball. I have seen.
No. Love and Basketball.
Basketball.
I've
Omar
actually seen more
S.
hero movies than a lot of people.
Not black enough.
Yeah, but there were so many people. That movie was like over 20 years ago, I think.
Right.
But you see that like their star isn't. They didn't just arrive where they are now. There was a path.
Right.
People just don't always talk about the path.
Right.
We focus on what we see in front of us. That she has this
Absolutely.
lifestyle and she does all these great things without necessarily understanding or being aware of all of the steps in the journey. And I think people need to talk about the journey.
The journey.
If
Nobody wanna hear about
anybody has
the
any
journey.
questions about Gabrielle Union, you need to read her book.
Oh, the book is
That book is great.
It really.
Yeah.
And I had no expectations when I read it. I was
Me
like,
either.
okay, I'm just gonna. It was. I was like, oh. So that's who you are.
And she
Right.
tells it. She lets
Right.
it all out. She's
The
very
Tiffany Haddish book
transparent.
is really good too.
Which one?
The Tiffany Haddish,
I
yeah.
want Taraji P. Henson.
Yeah.
Tiffany Haddish.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah.
I didn't like
Yeah.
Tiffany Haddish on
Yeah, her book was really
Hers
good.
and Jennifer Lewis as
I'm
well.
gonna have it read to me via Audible.
Okay.
Shout out to Audible.
I too.
Right.
So, okay. For the culture, actually, let me go back. We did have another comment that said, I believe change is hard because of the unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly.
Not knowing what another option is. One thing about me, I say this all the time, I am a big fan of options.
I am too.
Love
I do like
Yeah.
If you ever want to see me like in a total struggle, make me feel like I don't have an option.
Right,
like
right.
I always, even if it's people say all the time, failure is not an option. Incorrect.
It
Failure
is.
most
It
definitely
definitely
is an option. It may not be the desired option, but it is one.
Right.
So yeah, there's I love having options. And so when you feel like what is the other option? This is my only option, and now I have to walk away from the only option that I know. That's scary.
It is.
That is that is scary. It's like wait, I'm supposed to not do this.
Right.
So what am I doing?
So what else is
What
there?
does it do? Right.
So what
Right.
What else is there? What am I supposed to do?
Right.
And now when we're talking about trying to shift the dialogue or the messages that some of these broken, toxic, people that are still children on the inside now raising children,
Right.
are sending out, and not just to their children, but to the other relationships that they have, co-workers, friends, cousins, whatever.
Yeah.
There is another option.
Right.
They just don't know what it is.
Right.
Or they see it and don't see the benefits
Fits. Right.
behind trying to strive for that option.
Right.
So, gotta make it sexy. That's one thing. That's one of the things that I learned, that if you, in marketing, you gotta make it sexy.
Right.
Like, if it's not sexy, they're not gonna look.
Right.
So
That's true.
So how do we make living a calm, cool, collected life look sexy? They don't want to know it.
It's true.
We got another comment that says, put in the work. There's no overnight success.
None.
Anything worth having, you have to work on and
That's
through.
right.
Surround yourself with like-minded individuals and be eclectic in your journey.
Right.
Yeah,
One
that's
thing
good. I like that.
One
Right.
thing that I've done, or not necessarily intentionally, but one thing that I've done is when I was working on my bachelor's degree, the people that I surrounded myself with already had bachelor's degrees. When I decided to go back and get my master's, so I was able to see it.
Right.
Instead of being surrounded by something that looked just like a reflection of what I am,
Right.
that's not going to help
Or a
me.
reflection of where you've been.
I need to see something that looks like where I'm trying to go.
Right.
So if I want to do better, I need to surround myself with
With
someone who's already done it, because why not just can I see it, but you can always share with me steps and tips on how to succeed in the journey. And look, Nat, I made this misstep. Don't do that.
Right.
Like, learn from my failure.
Right.
It helps. It doesn't necessarily mean that my path is going to be straight.
Right.
But I won't trip over that one because
Right.
you showed me how to
Right.
do it.
Right.
Now I might stumble over here, but that's something, and I think it takes your mindset has to be open to do that. I think about also what I chaperoned a field trip with my son when he was in elementary school, and we went just 30 minutes from here. How many kids on the bus had never been out of the neighborhood?
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
To go just 30 minutes away.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's no one other than the school at that time and the teachers that said these children need to see a stage play.
Right.
So let's
Right.
take them
Right.
there. So how do I know that there are any other options if I'm not shown any other
Right.
options? It's so important to expose your children to as much as you can, even as educators. And I know it's difficult because y'all got tests and stuff.
Right.
But as much as you can, expose children to other things so they know that there are options other than being Insta famous.
Right.
And being doing something silly
Right.
on YouTube to get likes. Like, there are other options out there, but they have to be exposed to it.
Exposure matters.
It matters.
I just had this conversation. My director is from New York. I'm from Louisiana, small town. And I was telling her, I could remember when it's like we lived in a bubble and we felt so safe because the only thing that existed to me was my little town, my family. Like, it was so small. And what bust my bubble was when Adam Walsh got kidnapped. And we like, kidnapped? Like, what is that? Like, people will take me? Like, but it was that exposure. And then that's when the world just started kind of opening up. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, so exposure is so important. When I was teaching also, and I'm trying to do the background knowledge, and I'm talking about Tennessee, and they like, what is Tennessee?
Right.
Like, and then that's when I learned a lot of them had never been outside of Homestead.
Right.
Like, Homestead was all that they knew.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's going back, tying it into what we're saying is that when some people can't teach because they don't know better.
Right.
If that's all you know, that's all you can give.
Right.
You can't give your child anything more because that's all you know. If the parent never been out of Homestead, guess what? She raising the child, and that child is gonna stay in that same. So it's a cycle.
Right.
It creates a cycle, but somehow, Cinnamon, you gotta fix it.
Right. Up to you.
Right.
Here's the hilarious part of that. As she was talking, like, okay, so step one is exposure.
Right.
You was trying to figure
I'm
out.
trying to figure it out.
No, but seriously, we gotta get these people to open up and trust some of these programs that's out there and let their kids go.
Yes.
Expose them to things.
You know what?
We have to create things.
Since they're already on social media, follow some other pages. Follow some traveling pages.
But we
follow some pages of people who actually going somewhere outside of where you live,
Right.
so you can see that is a thing that happens.
Right.
People do go places.
Right.
Even if nobody in your family has ever been anywhere,
Right.
you can see that traveling is even a possibility.
Right.
But a lot of them can't. They can't see it that way because they don't have the means to even survive where they are.
Right.
So they can't go somewhere else because
Right.
they can't get by where they are.
That's
Right.
true.
So, and it's not even so much about traveling, though. That's great, and I think a vacation is always in order.
Yes.
Outside of that,
Yes.
Everybody.
Yes.
All right.
but outside of that, it's your mindset. Like, not just how do I travel beyond like these 2 blocks that I live in, but there are other career opportunities available. Because my grandma lived in these projects, my mama lived in these projects, and I now live in the exact same.
Right.
Not necessarily same project community, but I mean in the exact
same
in the same apartment
Same
number.
one.
There are other options. Right.
Yeah.
We have all lived in 4P, and guess what? None of us own it. We still paying rent.
Right.
Been 60 years, my family
3
been here,
generations.
and we've been paying rent on it. Okay, that's a change of mindset. You have to know that there's something else out there. So not just exposing and thinking beyond like traveling, but let's say beyond. We don't have to live in subsidized housing.
Right.
And for some people it's necessary. But it doesn't have to be your permanent. It doesn't have to be generational.
Right.
You can do better. You can get your high school diploma.
But
You don't
just
have to drop out.
want it.
Right.
You
Yeah,
have to want it.
Right.
There are other things than being on the corner and hanging out. But you have to want it.
Yeah.
At a certain
Which means you
point,
have to do
it's on
something
you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's on you.
Do
Yeah.
something different, which is a worksheet that's on our website.
What's it called?
Do something different.
What's the website, Cinnamon?
It's actually cinnamon.com.
Okay.
And here's another comment that says, in journey, sometimes you have to go alone.
You do.
And there are people
Yeah,
that
you do.
are terrified of being alone for 5 minutes.
I mean,
Yeah.
For 5
I love
But that's a
It's the
codependency.
best.
That's codependency, though.
I had to explain to somebody that me going to the movies by myself did not mean I was rejecting their company.
Right.
I enjoy.
Yes.
Here's the truth. I'd rather rather go by myself than go with anybody. I'm always gonna choose going to the movies by
Right.
myself because I don't have to discuss with anyone what movie we gonna see,
Right.
which theater we gonna go to,
Where we gonna
what
sit.
time, what we're gonna see.
Whether or
Right.
not you
Am
have
I going to
snacks,
eat anything?
Yeah.
I don't
Am
have to
not
leave
going
and
I'm gonna
answer
eat
no
before.
questions.
I'm gonna
Right.
eat after. What's up?
Why are you parked over
Open
here?
this up. I don't have to have any of the conversations.
Right.
I can go when I feel like it, where I feel like it, see what I feel like, sit where I feel
Right.
like, and leave when I feel like.
Right.
I'm always gonna vote for by myself.
Right.
Right.
I hear that.
I'm
Right.
gonna do that. But and I explained that, and that was such a foreign concept to that person because they felt rejected. They thought I didn't want their company because I didn't ask for it. And I was like, and that was foreign to me because I was
Right.
like, what you mean? Going alone is great.
Right.
What?
Right.
You should try it one day.
Right.
Everyone should do it.
Everyone.
And I'm not understanding that, but they weren't understanding me, and that's when I was just like, oh, there are people who really don't understand the concept of alone, let alone want to even try it.
Right.
Well, I can honestly say that's something that I've dealt with. When I was going to therapy, my therapist informed me that I had a codependency issue.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that was part of the broken little girl in me because my father abandoned my mother and I, and my family and I. He left. My parents were married for 20-some years, but he went out there, saw another woman, raised another family. He left us. So I've been abandoned. I've been rejected because my father didn't want a relationship with me anymore. It's just so many different levels to it, and that creates a codependency within us. And that's where I say again, there's a broken child in us, and we got to fix that. So when I had to learn in this season of my life, God told me, you got to be alone, and it's going to be hard, but I'm going to be here. That was hard for me. I literally fought that. Like, I fought with God with that because I was like, I don't want to be alone. I'm not used to that. That's not what I asked you to do. That's not what my prayer was. So, right, I ain't asked for all that. But then I had to learn, okay, Key, you got to do this. Like, it's for you. Right. Whatever journey he's taking me on is to better. It's for me. Right. It's for his glory, but it's for me though. So that concept is really hard for people because it's the brokenness in them, and it's hard. It is hard to go on those journeys where you got to step out those comfort zones. It's hard to do it by yourself because you don't know what's out there. You don't know. You don't know what. Right? Exactly. So I can understand that. Going to the movies by myself, I didn't understand that. I want a man to come with me. I don't understand and pay for it. I don't want to do all that. I'm just saying. But now I'm at the point. Okay, now I can go to the movies by myself and I'm good. I can take myself out on a date.
Therapy can do.
Right. It shifts the mindset. Right. Exactly. Right. So yes, I do. I understand that.
So exposure, representation is also key. One of the reasons I consistently acknowledge and talk about the wonderful relationship that I have with my best friend is because I need people to know that it's possible.
It is,
that you don't have to have relationships with other women that is catfighting and I don't trust her and what she, like you said, is she gonna try to take my man? Like,
right.
It doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
There are other options that and they exist. And they're flourishing and they're happening right in front of your face.
Right.
It does happen. It's another reason why I started more and more. I remember when I was younger, I used to shield my relationship with my father. And anybody who knows me now knows that I am a ginormous daddy's girl. But I used to hide that because I was so afraid of offending people who didn't have a father in the house. I was scared of that. And I was just like, I don't want to. And like I said earlier, people were already telling me I wasn't living the black experience because I had both my parents there in the house.
Not only you had them both, they both had jobs. They hung around you. They made sure you was okay.
They took me on trips.
Yeah.
They took me to visit grandparents, not so grandparents could babysit,
right.
but so I could just be like, hey, grandma, and then we went home. My parents took me back home. We went back home. And that was like not the Negro norm, so to speak, or whatever. Growing up, I would hear these narratives, so I started shielding that life. And now as an adult, I'm like, bruh, listen, sis, check it out. Me and my deity was having this conversation, and I'm telling everybody my mother because I would start hearing people talk about how mothers and daughters just don't get along and all they do is fight and all this. I'm like, bro. What?
Right.
Y'all not doing it right.
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
No, I think I grew up very similar to you.
Yeah, me too.
In that with my mom and dad were always there. There was never a moment that my parents were not around. Like, it wasn't even an option. Like, I didn't know that could be an option. Right? Because my daddy got up every morning before the sun came up. He went to work. He came home every night. Mama was somewhere in the house doing something, bossing us around, but they were always together. If somebody moved, Daddy took off over the summer while we were off. He saved all his PTO. He took the summer off. We got in the station wagon and we went somewhere. That was what was normal for me. I had no idea that was abnormal.
Right.
Even though there were people who parents weren't together, you know. But for me, because in my house it is.
Yeah, that's how, yeah.
And guess what? My grandma stayed with us. My daddy auntie stayed with us. Like, this is normal. Like, okay, whatever. But as I grew up, I realized that it wasn't. And what started happening was the friends that I started having in high school, with the exception of one, they were from single parent households. And they were always trying to come to my house. And I'm like, why you don't want to come to me? You know my mama don't cook.
Trying to go somewhere.
By the time I got into high school, I was the only one because I was the youngest at that point. My sisters had both graduated and was out the house. Mom was like, I ain't cooking, girl. You better go home. Or my grandma would cook. But what I realize now is that the peace and the normalcy of our family was something that they were looking for because their daddies had left. Or their parents had separated, or their parents might have been together, but it was just chaos because they were together, but they didn't like each other. You know, it was different things.
That's so funny because I'm thinking about it, I'm like, it was the opposite with us. I was always trying to go
She
to
was
my
always
house.
at my house.
And the funny thing is, my
always
parents
there.
encouraged that.
Like, please,
They encouraged that. They were
we'll
like,
come get you later.
and I think for now, looking back, it's something different. It's not her norm, and she needs to be exposed to that around people that care about her. So, because my godparents, same exact family setup as me, I wasn't gonna get it there. I mean, none of my godparents. Like, everybody had the same. It was the same across the board. Family.
Right, and that goes back to who you surround yourself with. Because my godparents were the same. I enjoyed being at my godparents' house more than I enjoyed being at home because I was the only child, so I got whatever. It was wonderful. And it still is today. I'm 40 plus, married with children, and I can still go to Georgia and they treat me like I'm still a little girl, and I get whatever I want. It's awesome. But I didn't understand that really everybody doesn't have the same experience.
Right.
And it colors things, and it makes them appreciate, and it made me appreciate having what I had because it was normal. And I'm like, well, your daddy don't live at the house,
Right?
Your daddy in the room. Your
I don't comprehend.
Yeah, your daddy don't come home sometime. Like,
What do you mean he don't live at the house?
Right.
Where is
oh,
he?
my daddy.
Right.
Is he in the army?
Right.
Your parents live, y'all live together, but your parents don't talk, and they don't speak like
as
that.
I got older, I'm like,
They're separate.
We can't go in there. That's my daddy room.
no, they was never married.
Yeah.
Right.
You
I
can
guess.
do that?
It's possible, yes.
Yeah.
Exposure.
Right.
Back to the exposure. So, for the culture.
It's always bring it back.
Because we haven't covered for the culture yet.
Okay.
And I think we're going to discuss for the culture, and then that'll probably be it for this discussion, because we're going to have another CinnaChat on body positivity.
That's a good one.
That's starting to
That's
get
a good
good.
one.
That's starting to get good for
Yeah.
me. Oh, wait, hold on. We got a comment. Hold on. What may cause one to feel inspired may, on the flip side, make another to feel extremely insignificant.
Yeah.
It is a level of maturity that all don't possess, see more. Which is why genuine relationships among our people are detrimental to provide perspectives beyond ourselves. That's from your best friend.
Who I was about to say? Who is that? Sis, you
That's from
next
your best friend.
Hey,
Best friends are so awesome.
know I was doing this. She would be
I
on
didn't
there
even tell her because
too.
I didn't know I was doing this. Cinnamon just said, "Come
Yeah,
over,"
I
and
didn't
I
tell her.
said,
Don't be on Facebook
"No."
Live. I don't think I told none of them.
You told me, and I was like, oh, okay. I probably put on some clothes that match. Maybe put on a little makeup so I don't look crazy.
I was like, I'm not. Well, I mean, if that's what y'all, I mean, you know, hey, do you, boo-boo?
That's it.
I said I was going to put that on a shirt. So, for the culture, going back to, for those of you who may have just signed on a little while after I said the story, I was at an event, yada, yada. One of the things that came up was that we should take our capes off at times, that we should not be afraid to not desperately try to be super fill in the blank. Super mom, super wife, super daughter, super sister, super co-worker, super whatever. We should not be afraid to just be like, you know what, I ain't super today.
I can't be super all the time.
Right.
Super all the time. I am not your superwoman.
Right.
Go on, Karen.
I would.
Sure, yeah.
And I was met with the comment that we as black women don't have that option, that we have to wear the cape because, especially for this particular instance that they were giving the example was in the workplace, in corporate America specifically is what they said, is that we have to wear the cape because everything we do when we're the people in the room is for the culture. And I respectfully disagreed that no, everything that I do does not have to be for the culture. Now, if that's a decision that I make, if that's a choice that I make, if that's the option that I decide to take,
Right.
okay,
Right.
that's my decision. However, I don't think that we should, I guess, continue the narrative that if you are an African American woman, you have to be super queen, super sister queen,
Right.
you know, when you walk into work because you're carrying the culture on your shoulders. And I was then, should I say what they called me?
Please do.
Yes.
I was told that I was blissfully ignorant if I did not believe that it was all for the culture. And the fact that I have locks came up, by the way, and yeah, I didn't tell that part. I was trying not to tell all of it. The fact that I had locks came up, and we were talking about hair and hair culture in the workplace, and I said, I don't have locks because I'm, you know,
pro-black,
trying to show you that you're not going to take away my blackness. That is not at all why this happened. This happened because my scalp can't take a relaxer no more as of September 25th, 2012. That was the last day of relaxing touching the scalp because the scalp was like, nah, sis, we ain't doing this no more. And so I went natural. And after a while, I got to know this straight off the Amistad ship. Out of my head, baby, let me tell you, on one section of hair, it's nice and cute, and I can do a whole lot of stuff with it. But the rest of it, you can do all the detangling and twisting you want to do. It's gonna do this right here, and it's gonna remind me from whence I come. And I was like, I'm not finna do this. I'm not finna do the detangling every 2 days. I'm just not down for this. So it was either locks or get me a good loyal barber. Those were the options. I figured go with locks first. That way, if they don't work out, I can back out on. I can back into the barber.
Right.
Thanks, Karen, for that tip. That was good. You know. And that's how I ended up with locks. None of that is for the culture.
Right.
It's not.
That's all about me and my scalp.
Yeah.
Right.
That is completely about me and my scalp.
Right.
It has nothing to do with nobody else.
Right.
That was my natural journey. I'm in the mirror New Year's Eve, and I was like, oh, I should just cut my hair. My hair is relaxed. It's like here, it's straight. And my husband was cutting his hair, and he was like, oh, okay. Okay.
You might have had to fight a little bit.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Like,
But it wasn't for the culture.
Right.
It was just what I
that
decided.
you
And that
wanted
was
to do.
before the whole natural,
Right.
I don't even know what to call it
Revolution,
now.
I guess.
Oh, that's the right
I don't know what to
word. That was before the whole natural revolution. Like
Everybody was like, you must.
I cut it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I love the easiness of it. I love to just be able to wash and go, and you know, the relaxers. Although it never hurt my hair, like I didn't have an issue with it. Now I know that it's like not the best for us, so it wasn't for the culture. I'm still natural over 20 years later, but it's not for the culture.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like when I stopped perming my daughter's hair when she was, because I started perming it early, which is terrible thing, because everybody said that I shouldn't.
Right.
And when I stopped perming her hair when she was like 4 years old. I was like, I'm not going to do this to my baby.
You started
Before,
it?
yeah. I
You
stopped
started
before she was 4. Yeah.
Oh.
So when she was 4, I was like, I'm not doing this to my child. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
And I got, especially from the older members of my family, I got a lot of pushback. My grandma.
You
I
got the
love my
pushback
grandma.
when
I
you
just
stopped?
When I stopped.
Oh.
I love my grandma, but she told me, I need you to do something to this child's head. Because she don't look right. I was like, there's nothing wrong with my baby's head. This is the hair that comes from her scalp. This is her hair.
Right.
Why do I have to change it? For who?
Right.
If this is better for her, health-wise.
Right.
Why do I have to change her hair? But nobody had answers. Because that's what everybody does. Well, I'm not doing that to her.
Right.
I'm not going to do it.
Right.
And even now, to this day, she still won't perm her hair. She's
Your
a whole
daughter,
18
Mom?
years old. Mhm.
Good.
For
For her. I'm saying good for her that she's taking her stance. Not
Yeah.
good for her that she don't. Because
Yeah.
to me it don't
Right.
matter. Her, relax. Do you?
personal
It's
choice.
a
It's a
personal
personal
choice.
Underneath
Because
As long as your hair is healthy. Yeah.
after 20 years, if I want to go back to a
Yeah.
perm, guess what? I'm going back to a perm.
Yeah.
Right. That's your
Yeah.
choice.
You have to deal with
With
your
your
hair.
hair.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody else. You and whoever your stylist is, if
Right.
you have one.
Or barber.
Yeah.
Or like
What do y'all think about the general term or the, I guess, responsibility, I don't know, of for the culture? What do y'all think about that?
At my job, I will say this: there's 3 schools. So at the school that I work with, and my mom even pointed this out to me at the Christmas party. She was like, "It's not a lot of this at the Christmas party. It's more Hispanic." But see, I come from a mixed background. My father is a Blackfoot Indian, yes, and German and French, yeah, and my mom is mixed with Black and Puerto Rican. So for me, it's right. But this is what I go with the most, because when people see me,
That's what
they
they
see right. They see the good hair. That's good. The waves, the curls. That's fine. But you know, at the end of the day, I'm me. I don't do any of that. But at my job, I represent this because there's 3 of us at my job. So sometimes I do feel as though when I am at work, I do have to be a certain kind of way because there's only 3 of us. There's a quota of us. There's a little bit of us versus the others, which are Hispanic. So I feel as though with my boss, you know, because it's only 3 of us, she does look at us, you know, in a certain perspective. And I don't ever want her to feel as though, well, you know, I've hired her, and because, you know, whatever the reason is she hired me, I'm a good teacher, that's great. I know that, but I don't ever want to feel as though I'm putting stereotypes or stigmas on my culture. Right. Because if I act a certain way, or if I act out of turn, or for instance, let's say if I get mad and I get ghetto and loud and all, I don't want ever to say, okay, well, that's how Black people really are. I'm the angry Black woman.
We don't do that anyway.
Right, exactly.
We don't do that anyway.
However, right, exactly. So I have to be assertive, but I can't be aggressive. And there are times when I want to get aggressive, especially if I'm fighting for my children. But I'm like, you know what? That's y'all fight. I'm not going to do that. Because I feel as though I'm devaluing me as a woman, number 1. But number 2, as my own race as well. Because I don't ever want to live up to the stigmas or to the stereotypes that y'all have placed on us. I don't ever want to do that. Because even though I am passionate, and when we get loud, yeah, we passionate. Sometimes it is ghetto, I ain't gonna lie. That depends on the circumstance for certain people. But when it's something that you're passionate about, and you know that you write about, it's passion. It's not being ghetto. Mm-hmm. So, and it's a shame that I have to express that to you in order for you to get that picture. So at my job, I do feel as though sometimes it is for the culture. I have to dress a certain kind of way too. We gotta dress clean cut. Like I can't. For instance, one of the guys, he's at my job, he has dreads. He has to wear his dreads up. She don't want him wearing the dreads down. That's a problem. to me, in my eyes, it is kind of a problem because I feel as okay. Well, what's wrong with that? I don't understand.
Is he working with small children that's gonna pull his hair? Like,
Well,
is it
he's
working-
I don't want to say, okay, but
No
we
defining
work right.
information.
So the school that we work at ranges from 3rd grade to 8th grade. He's in the mix between 5th grade and middle school. I'll say
The
that.
children should not be pulling his hair. I mean,
They don't pull his hair. They
that's
don't.
what I'm saying.
Right.
Or they worry
So
that he's
that's
gonna walk
not-
by
It's
some
more
reason,
of
grab
a
him and
right.
yank his hair. I mean,
It's more of
Is it a
aesthetic
liability?
for why she wants it to be pulled up. You know how she wants us to look. Fine, whatever she wants us to be clean cut. Cool, no problem. So with me, a lot of times I want to wear plaits and I want to wear braids, but then I say to myself, okay, during the summertime I can do that because it's summertime. But during real school, can I do that? How would she feel if I did that?
But
Is
that
this
aesthetic
feeding
is
the
across
image?
is across the board.
What do you mean as far as what? Like
So
look at everybody
hair
else?
up about.
And it's because he has dreads, she don't want him down.
What
I
about
mean,
the
so you say
non-
you have an aesthetic. That
Do they have to have a certain?
Yeah,
they have
like
to
for
look-
instance, like okay, during the school year, I want to wear plaits. I don't want to do my hair. Let's say, for instance, if I want to wear plaits, sometimes I question, well, how would she react if I wore plaits? Because I know that she wants us to be clean cut. You know what I'm trying to say? It's a certain way she wants us to look. So you want us to look nice. You want us. I'm talking about the females now. You want us to look nice or whatever. But if I wore braids during the school year, not during summer, if I wore plaits right now, how would she feel? Like, would you feel a certain kind of way? I'm talking about the owner.
Right.
Because she makes these guidelines. Even though it's not in the rule book, but just the fact that I know how you feel,
It's unspoken.
it's unspoken. That's the problem. So sometimes I'm like, and even when I wear my hair out wild, because I got curls that are wild, sometimes I'll be like, okay, well, I don't know if she's going to have an issue with this.
So
Cause
question for you: are there any curly-haired Hispanic women at your job?
No.
No curly hair.
No.
Because I was gonna say, and
No.
What do they want?
Majority of them have straight hair. All of them have straight hair. I'm the only one with like really curly hair.
Are there any men who have longer hair other than
No, that's
The
it.
lock?
Nope, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. So that's why I say sometimes in that atmosphere, I do feel as though it's for the culture. Now, the school is great. The students are Hispanic and Black. That's the majority of what it is. We have a little bit of Asian. You don't really know whites in us, so I can't really say that. But I just feel as though even with the student, she has a certain, she don't want the boys, the student, she don't want the women.
So it's
But
across
she's
the board.
like,
It's across the
and
board.
she's
It's
fair
across
with
the
it.
board.
Yeah.
Because it's
across
like
the
she's
board.
teaching.
That's
But the
about the
girls,
image
but the student girls can wear plaits and they can wear braids.
Right.
So with the coworkers, me, I don't know if I would be able to do that.
did you ever just ask her?
During the
I would
summertime,
ask
I would ask. During the summertime, they don't have a problem with it because it's summertime. But I never really. But I just feel as though I don't know.
I mean, I just think knowledge is power.
Knowledge,
if
right.
you know, and
Right.
just let her know. So, look, I'm just
Right,
curious.
right.
I just am wondering.
Right, right.
But I mean, as far as the aesthetic part
Right.
of what you're saying,
Right.
it sounds like it's just across the board for
Probably
everybody.
across the board,
But
yeah.
I do understand what you're
Yeah.
saying about being the only or the few
The few
that
three.
look like
Uh-huh.
us in the room because
Yeah.
at one of the places that I have a contract with right now, and that's the way I'm gonna phrase it.
Okay. Right.
When we have staff meetings, let me see. Again, especially challenged. So I'm gonna guess approximately 50
Okay.
people in the room. Now, there's a lot of discrepancies here. Chairperson, male. Everybody else, female. And when I say everybody, I mean the people above him and all 50 of us under him, female. Of the 50 of us female, look like me, including me.
Is that 0 or 3?
Three.
Three.
I had to count. 1, 2, 3. Yes, it's 3. It's 3. Now, one of those 3 has a contract from outside, so it's like subcontract.
Right.
So of those of us who hold our contract for the work that we provide, me and one other person. That's it. Everybody else has got, no, I'm sorry, 1, 2 white women. If there's more, I can't think of them.
That's gonna be 45.
If there's more, I can't think of them.
That's huge.
I'm gonna give myself another one just in case I'm forgetting somebody. I'm probably forgetting somebody. So let's say
Give or take.
everybody else in the room, habla español, female. So when I feel myself in the minority, I feel myself in the minority as an English speaker. First.
Yeah, that's true.
Before feeling in the minority as an African American.
Right.
Which is interesting, because as you were talking, I was like, that's interesting, because I have the same dynamic and I don't feel it.
Right.
So when I do speak up, and I'm the loud, boisterous one, I feel like, y'all already know this about sentiments, so whatever, I'm finna, y'all know I ain't diplomatic, so I have a question and I'm just finna ask it. What's funny is, I get leaned on as the strong one in the room.
See, that's how,
I get leaned on like, ask them.
Yeah.
That is not my question. That's your question.
Yeah.
She has a question.
Right.
Like, and it's funny because I find myself speaking up more.
Yeah.
For the fact that everybody in here don't speak Spanish. I'll say that. I just want to remind everybody in here that everyone in here doesn't speak Spanish.
Right.
And just so you know, the population we serve, all of them don't speak Spanish either.
Right.
Just in case y'all was thinking that y'all needed to get more Spanish people up in here, there's people in here that don't speak Spanish either. So, what was it that you're saying that we need to do in English?
But they speak Spanish though. The ones that you're talking about, like they initially speak Spanish. See, at my job, they're Hispanic, but they speak English clearly too.
They speak
right?
English.
Okay.
They choose not to speak
but
English.
Right.
But
the
it's
majority.
different.
Right.
It's different because when people are called and asked and chosen and appointed for things, if you don't speak Spanish, you ain't getting called. Your phone's not ringing. These are the things that. So for me, when it comes to for the culture, I still don't even feel it then when I probably should. I don't know if I should or not, but even then I don't. I feel like I'm advocating more for everybody don't speak. Like, hey, y'all, hey. Don't forget us. Don't forget us over here who don't habla español.
I guess I don't feel that way because I actually understand. I understand Spanish. I don't speak it though. There's a difference. So to respond back, there's a difference. But to understand what the person is saying, I get it. So whatever needs to be communicated in Spanish, I can use whoever I need to communicate it, but I know what the person is saying though. So I guess for me, that's why I don't feel that way. I guess that's why there's a difference.
So you can still get your job done.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, for me,
that's
I
the
can
difference.
Get my job done,
right.
Except I'm viewed as not being able to get the job done because of the fact that I'm not bilingual.
Right.
That's a whole different thing.
That's different. Yeah, that's different.
And it's funny that I didn't realize that until you were talking.
Right.
When I'm sitting in the room, I'm blatantly aware of the fact that I am a spot and a freckle in this room. I am very aware of it, but I don't think that I realized until then, even in that scenario, I still don't own
the culture.
The culture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I still don't.
In a very similar situation too, that I'm the only, like she said.
Right. He's gonna do this.
In not only in work, but the population that we serve, and I don't carry that on my shoulder. I am not trying to wear the Superwoman cape for trying to be the Superwoman employee, the Superwoman black person. I am not carrying that. Right. I go in, I represent myself the way that I represent myself. Right. If I want to wear fake hair, I wear fake hair. If I want to wear braids, I wear braids. I am not concerned because I know who I am and I don't feel the responsibility. But I think it's because I just know who I am. I'm grounded in who I am. Right. And so I don't carry the things that I do for the culture. If I'm gonna get upset, which thank God that's not my temperament, so I'm not worried about being the angry black woman. Like those things that I just don't carry that. I just don't.
But even if you're
take
not
that
like angry, you may not be angry, but they will perceive you as angry.
Well, in which we had an episode the other day.
If you raise your voice slightly,
listen,
like if you're doing excuse me,
it's the code
immediately,
That's
immediately
the code switching. Code switching is not just like in how we speak, because we may speak to each other a certain way, but if we walk into a different atmosphere, we change the way we speak.
Right.
You know, we change how we react to things and how we respond. Our voice may go up, our our voice may go down, and it's to put other people at ease.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't even realize it,
Right.
right? And
I
it's
always
something
realize.
my daughter went to when she was in elementary. She's a senior now. But when she was in elementary, she went to an elementary where she was the only person who looked like her in her class. And to make it even worse, she was in the honors classes. So she was taught.
there too.
She was taught. So she learned like in 3rd grade what code switching was without realizing it, because she behaved and carried herself one way in class, and she was natural. So Maria and them didn't understand her hair.
And immediately went to say, ooh,
Can I?
Yes, but
Right.
then when she came home, at home she's surrounded by everybody who
Right.
looked like her. So, and I would see it when I would pick her up. She would talk like she was at school, but then by the time we got home, she like snapped back.
Right.
And then with her hair, it was a thing because she wanted her hair to look like everyone else's and lay. And I'm like, sweetie, you don't have that
Hair
type
not
of
gonna
hair.
Yeah.
It don't matter how we press it, it's just not going to.
Do that,
But she had to get comfortable, and then she got in middle school and she just switched and became
Who she is.
who she is and all of that.
Right.
And
so wonderful.
she's something to
I'm saying that
behold.
because I don't have a razor. But
But-
I'm sure she's a handful, but I think she's awesome.
I
everybody
say
says that about other
she's
people's
an
children.
experience.
I enjoy experiences.
Yeah,
And
she's
my
an
child is
experience.
She is
also an
indeed an
experience.
experience.
She's
And I
an
enjoy
experience.
experiencing both of your daughters.
We're so glad.
I take that back. I enjoy experiencing all of your daughters. It is an experience, and it is a fun one. And
She's
that-
an experience, but that was something she had to learn. So it's not just when we become adults that like you have that pressure, because people looked at her a certain kind of way,
Right.
and they wanted her to be in gifted. I'm like, I'm not putting her in gifted, and it has nothing to do with her skin tone. I just remember when I was in elementary school, the gifted children and how they
And
behaved.
right.
Yeah.
And how we were treated by other people
Yes.
who were not.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were socially awkward, and it was different things, and I didn't want those experiences for her. So she's gonna keep herself right here in this class.
Okay.
And she's gonna do well, but she's going to learn all these other things.
Right.
Now, on the flip side, I've worked in environments where everybody looked like us. We worked for the same organization. Everybody looked the same. I worked in another organization in a high-level position where I was the only person who looked like me. And when I walked into that area, not just in the building, but just walking into that
You
area.
feel it. It's
Like
because I've had many
to the
many
point
jobs.
where when I went to the doctor, my doctor, just doing a regular checkup thing, and he always check in. So what are you doing? Where are you working? That type thing. And when I told him, he's like, "You work where?" It ain't too many of us who work in that area. And you do what? Yeah, you know you're a rarity, right? But and I was like, yeah, I guess whatever. Like I'm just going to get my check and go home. 'Cause I got these kids that I need to feed.
Right.
But I didn't. Hello, and I was responsible for the direct deposit, so I made sure they went in on time. Okay.
Right.
But I did not own doing it for the culture.
Right.
I did it because this is the assignment that God has placed before me at this particular period. So when I walk into this space, I'm not walking in representing the culture. I'm walking in representing Him.
Yeah.
I'm walking in representing myself, because I live by the scripture that says a good name is to be valued.
Right.
And I understand the value that is placed on my name. With my name, there needs to be integrity, and I need to carry myself a certain way. Not for the culture. The culture got its own business,
Right.
but for me and for mine. Because whatever I want, and I say this all the time, I want when my children walk into a room and people say, "This is Natalie's daughter."
Oh, Natalie, your mom is great.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Not for me.
Exactly.
Not for me, because I don't need the accolades, but I want it to do things for them.
Right.
I want when people see them to be like, okay, I know your mama, I know your daddy, so you come from good people,
Right.
so let me for you, not for me, but for them.
Right.
That's what I live and what motivates me. The culture, you is your own business.
That's true,
I am
yeah.
not responsible, but as
That's
for
true.
these 3 that I gave birth to, and
Now,
not
if
just
it
those
could
3,
help
but
the
my
culture,
nieces.
great.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But do I carry it on my
Yeah.
shoulder?
Yeah.
I cannot
Not,
own that.
not
I cannot
purposely.
own that.
Yeah.
No,
I can't
you
do
take
it
that
for the
bag
culture
and you
because the
carry
culture's
it.
not doing it for me.
No,
Yeah.
the culture's not gonna make sure that FPL get their money.
That's right.
On the 22nd when
That's
they go
right.
and draw their money out my account.
That's right.
Okay. So I need to make sure
Right.
that is taken care of.
Right.
And whatever happens with the culture,
Yeah,
if it
a whole lot of
reflects
the
well,
culture is
great.
why I'm in therapy now.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
What am I doing for y'all again?
Right.
Because
Okay.
I said this in that event. I said when you are what you grow up with, what you're ingrained in, you carry that
Right.
with you. And there's times when you have to fight against it. You have to notice it. You have to be aware of it, whatever, but it's there.
Right.
And I will never unhear that I'm not black enough.
Right.
I will never unhear that. I will never unlive the rejections. That will just not happen. It's up in there.
Words
Right.
I
I
will
thought you was
never
black
not.
enough.
Simply because of what I did or did not
did.
eat.
Right.
Something that's simple.
Right.
Simply
Black
because
enough
of what my family dynamic was. Simply because of
Things that you had no control over.
superficial stuff at that.
Right.
Superficial stuff. I could see if I grew up in a Negro family that says we don't call us Negro. I could see if I did that, but that's not. We from South Carolina, from a town that only got on the map like 5 years ago. Thanks to Google. Prior to that,
Then nobody
you
gonna
couldn't
ride right
find
now.
us.
Right.
Like, okay, you see this map? All right, look, you see that little exit right there?
That's
it. Like, this is. I remember going for a summer to stay with one of my great aunts who still had hogs and chickens. Hello?
Right.
Don't get no blacker than that.
I'm like, come on. So it's really very hard for me to accept doing anything for the culture. And even if I'm ever placed in a position, okay, let me add this on top of that. I'm a social worker. Been a social worker longer than I've been a therapist. And child, I'm out here in these streets. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here doing these home visits. I'm out here doing, calling these parents. I'm out here knocking on people's doors. I'm out here doing this work. Mm-hmm. I am doing the work that I see posted about on social media all the time, and I'm like, I ain't riding with y'all because I'm actually out here doing the work and I don't see you.
Right.
I don't see you. I don't hear you. I don't feel your dollars.
Right.
I think nothing happening.
Right.
So I don't care what y'all got to say. I'm out here.
Right.
But it's the people I'm out here trying to say. Now, I ain't gonna lie, if I get a case referral for Malcolm Williams, these are not real names, by the way. If I get it versus a case referral for Jose Lopez, I'm gonna go to Malcolm Williams first.
Right.
I
feel like I can relate a little bit more to Malcolm Williams.
I can relate a little bit more to Malcolm Williams, and I've seen what the system is trying to do to Malcolm.
So wouldn't that be for the culture though?
For me, I don't know if that's for the culture, if
It's
I
for
work
Malcolm.
in it.
I was gonna say,
But Malcolm, but the reason that you're doing
It's
it,
for Malcolm.
it's for Malcolm. But the reason that you're doing it
The
is
culture
why.
benefits.
But why?
because she
Just-
know
I
how
don't
hard
know
our
that
life is gonna be
because
for Malcolm.
I've
Know how hard
worked
it's
in a
gonna be
certain
for Malcolm.
industry
Right.
and in this certain
You
system.
Right.
that for him.
Right.
I've seen where Malcolm gets treated differently than Jose. So let me give Malcolm a head start. He may not better or even equal out to Jose in the end. I don't know that. That depends on what Malcolm Mama feels.
Right.
And I can't make her do nothing.
Right.
But let me at least give you a head start. Because the system is here for Jose.
Right.
It ain't here for you.
Right.
At all. And I see that.
Right.
So let me help you.
Right.
I think I would probably do the same if it was boys versus girls. Which it is in a lot of cases.
Right.
Now that I say that, there's times where if it's Malcolm or Malitha.
I like Melissa.
I don't know if that's a name. It's a name. Malcolm or Malitha. And maybe y'all are cousins. I'm still going to go to Malcolm first. Because the system is ready to hammer our boys.
Right.
Before the girls.
Right.
But still us before them.
Right.
So I'm going to prioritize it based on who needs it the most.
Right.
Based on the system we're working in. It just happens to be the people that look like me. It happens to be that.
I think
And
Melissa
so I'm
may
like,
be more receptive to your help than Malcolm may.
Yeah.
But I agree that the system is
so-
set up like as a parent of girls and of a boy, there are certain things like it is very important for my husband and I that when my son steps into a school for them to know that he has parents.
Right.
And not
Sure.
that he
Yeah.
just that he has parents, but the types of parents that he
Right.
has.
These
Right.
are the parents that's gonna show up.
These
Right.
are, and
Right.
you know what?
Right.
We make
That he has
sure
a mom
that
and
he
a
showed
dad.
up. for
all
all
of
of
the
the
things,
things. Who are
good,
in the
bad, and
home.
otherwise.
Right. We
Yes.
aren't just his parents. Like, we're in the home with him every day.
Right.
Who does he live with? He live with both of us. But who's responsible? We
Both
both
of
are.
us.
Right,
responsible
right.
for him. Who's
Right.
coming to the conferences? Like, I request conferences. Why? Because I just need all of y'all to see
Right.
that he has parents who are actively engaged, and we're not just coming to his basketball game, but I need to know what's happening in the class academically. And have those conversations, because the system is set up and they already have ingrained in their mind when they see him a certain thing about him.
Right.
And if you know my child, you know that my child is extremely gentle and laid back. But when you look at him, he's a young black man.
Right.
And he's big for his age.
Right.
So people immediately start to think about who they assume he is, who is not necessarily who he
They
is.
probably
I
already
didn't
see him
get
as
it
a threat.
until Trayvon
Yeah.
Martin was killed. When
Yeah.
my son was in the 5th grade, he had this little red
Oh, wow.
hoodie jacket that he loved the jacket, and when he would walk into school, he had the hoodie on. Those people kept like harassing him, writing me, calling me into a meeting. He keeps wearing a hoodie, and I'm like, but what is he doing? And he's like, Mom, I don't even know what I'm doing. They was like, it was just something about him that they didn't like when he wore that hoodie. And it wasn't until Trayvon Martin was killed that I was like, that's what they saw in my kid. Like, he
Like a
looked
thug, like he's a
like-
thug.
and if you know
Right.
my son,
Far from it.
like,
Like the same thing about my son is 5'5" and he weighs 115 pounds. He is tiny. Tiny. I told him, I said, son, I understand you look like a little kid. Like most people
You
see
look-
my son and they think he's 10. My son is
Right.
14.
Oh.
14 years old. When they see him, they think he's a lot younger than he is because he looks younger. I'm like, these people don't care.
Right.
Nothing about
Right.
none of that. They don't care about the fact I don't see you as a threat. I see you as a child. I would probably pick you up and toss you.
right.
Because
But they
you're
see
small. But
something
they
Right.
totally
immediately, as
different.
soon as
Right.
they see him, it's like, no, that one right there.
And then my son is the exact opposite. My son's 13, but my son's like 5'10", 160, 170 pounds.
Yeah.
So they immediately assume
That
that
he's
he's a
older
threat. And
than
he's
what
not. Because
He's 13.
yeah, he'll be
Yeah, I know,
14
right?
in a couple weeks. But my son is young, but when you look at him, he looks like he's probably closer to 16, 17 because of his size. But if you look at his face, you can tell in his face
young,
he's younger.
yeah.
But when people see him, they don't take the time to take all of
No,
that.
they
in.
just
like
They just
giant
see this
black
big-
men.
Exactly.
Right.
And so for a period, my husband would not let him wear a hoodie.
Mm-hmm.
And he loved hoodies. But because of the connotation, he
Yeah.
wouldn't let him wear hoodies. And Jay would be like, Daddy, I just... You know, it's a whole thing. When you're in the store, don't have your hands in your
The
pockets.
Yeah.
Because, don't take your
Immediately you're
headphones
stealing.
into the store. Like we going into Best Buy, don't have your headphones on.
Right.
Leave your headphones in the
aware.
car. Like, it's all these different
Little
things
things that you have
that because the system is set up, as you were saying, the system is set up a certain way for our sons. Like, I have more fears and concerns for him than I do for my girls. I have fears and concerns for my girls, but they're very different than the ones that I have for my son.
Right.
Because
Because he could be doing nothing.
Right.
But being.
He could be
Nothing.
standing
Right.
in front of the house putting the garbage in the garbage can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He
He
would
would
taking the
get
garbage
stopped.
from the front of the house
Yeah.
to the back of the
Right.
house. He breaking
Right.
and entering.
Exactly.
It's a suspicious
I got
looking
pictures
guy.
of him in here. You come in and see
And
him.
look, he is all over the walls. Go and
Yeah.
look at his
Right.
room. But
they
that's
won't
the
ask
system.
those questions
No.
until
No.
after.
And it's too
React
late.
first, ask later.
It's too
And then
late.
I'm the problem when I want to
when you're
react.
angry.
Oh, but now
Right.
you're angry.
Yeah.
The angry
You're
black
an
man.
angry
Right.
black
You
woman.
Right.
have upset my
Shut up.
child, which upsets me because until he's old enough to defend himself,
It's my
I'm
job.
his first line
Right.
of defense.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so I don't know if there's a difference between reacting or acting for the culture or being painfully aware of discrepancies in systems. Because I know for a fact that when I do work for children, when I prioritize my referrals, I'm doing it out of a sense of awareness.
Right.
That I know if, like you used the name Maria earlier, so we're just gonna roll with Maria. If Maria gets these same exact referrals in the same exact order I got them, she's going for Jose first.
Right.
She know Jose. She can relate to Jose.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And she may or may not get to Malcolm and Malik.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So for me, I'm like, Jose, you just gonna wait. Because any other time, remember, 50 people in the room, only 5 of them don't speak it. You have a way better chance of getting what you need. Malcolm is stuck.
Right.
I need to help Malcolm.
He does.
Because that's not fair.
Right.
However, I do have things that I do, and I know it's for the culture. Because I made it for the culture, for me. That we, as a people, I did some research a couple of months back, that we don't access mental health services.
There's
We
still
still
a
don't.
stigma.
Right.
We still don't.
Stigma,
We still don't. And we
yeah.
have stigma. We've got all kinds of lists of things that we still won't allow ourselves to access mental health services at the rate that other cultures are. I'll say that. There has been an increase, but it hasn't been anywhere near the exploding increase of other cultures. And I've done that research. So I got the numbers. I got it to prove it.
Right.
So for me, one thing I know for sure, at least in South Dade, I searched for us. Where are we? I found three that includes.
You mean therapists?
You mean therapists? Yeah, it's not a lot.
I found 3, and I know there's more than 3, but I found 3.
It's not a lot.
3 private practices.
No.
Black women. I'm 1, so I found 2 basically.
Because you already know you.
Yeah.
I found 2. In those 2 that I found, I reached out to both of them because if somebody close to me and I know all their business wants therapy, I can't do the therapy.
Right.
Right.
I can't do that.
Right.
So but I know they're coming
You
to
wanna
me
know.
because they can identify with me.
Right.
They want an African American woman.
Right.
I want to be able to refer them to you, my sister. Let's keep our businesses going and flowing.
Right.
This is for the culture.
Right.
You know, I ain't heard back from them. One of them, it's the months. And I reached out more than once. I haven't heard back from either one of them. And I'm like, bet. So when somebody asks me for a therapist, you know who I send them to? Another Hispanic woman that I know. Another white woman that I know.
Yeah.
And they answer the phone. So what I'm doing for the culture is I'm setting myself up to generate and create more black therapists, specifically in the South. But wherever you want to go find, we just need more of you.
Right.
So I'm setting Jamila Wellness up that, okay, I need to be in a position where wherever you are, you got a master's in social work and you want to become a licensed clinical social worker to provide therapy for somebody else, no problem. Come here. Let's supervise and train you and get you this license so you can now also be another one. Because we need you.
Right.
Now that's for the culture.
Right.
That's all day for the culture.
Right.
I found 1. I got 1. And I know a whole lot more. But there's 1 that's willing to do the work. That's okay, because I'm going to work with that 1.
Take the one.
We're going to work with that 1.
That's
Don't worry
right.
about it. That's okay. Now that's my for the culture drive.
Right.
Now that's got my passion. Like,
Right.
we need more. I was like, I wish I could clone me. And just, temporary clone. Just for a couple of years, Okay, cinnamon number 3. You go over here and find a therapist. Okay, cinnamon number 19. I'm gonna need you to go to North Dade and bring them down south because they all trying to congregate up there and we need them to come down here. Like, that is for the culture because we have a need. And back to exposure. If there's more black therapists out there in our area that's talking about therapy more often and they're accessible, then maybe more people will feel a little bit more comfortable with reaching out to them. Maybe. But if you're not here, there's nobody for anyone to reach out to.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that's I will own all day that is something that I'm doing for the culture. But when I go to the place where I get a W-2, I'm here for the direct deposit. Right. I'm not here for the culture.
Right.
I'm not at all.
Because
That
y'all not
work
here
I'm
for the
doing on
culture.
the side, that's for the culture.
Right.
That and look, that doesn't mean that I'm only taking black clients.
Correct.
I take because I'm also here for that direct deposit as well. Sis gotta eat.
All direct deposit.
Right.
No color. No color.
I
But
see green. That is all.
So, all right, ladies. Any Any other final thoughts?
I know this glass.
Do you know it?
I do. I know this glass.
Best friend gave me this
No,
glass.
what the people say? You have any comments?
No, they were just watching for the most part. I read all the comments that came through, but as usual, when your best friend speaks up, most people just don't seem to follow her. She has a real good way.
Yeah.
She has a real good way of saying something. Everybody's like, well, yeah, that's
it.
There it is.
Yeah,
That's it.
That's why that's my best friend.
Any other final thoughts? Yeah. Thank you, ladies, for coming to the first CinnaChat. And like I said, we will have another one. It will be about body positivity unless something else pops up. Unless something else pops up. Body positivity does not always mean twerking. It could for some people.
Exactly.
Yes.
But not for everybody.
But not for
She
everybody.
didn't have some
Because my body positivity is not going to show up in a twerk.
That's right.
Because my twerks look terrible.
I'm working on
I can teach you if you like. I can show you some.
We need a twerk class.
I'm like, no, my back
If you're gonna twerk
right.
for the culture,
If you insist
let's
on
make
twerking.
it a good twerk.
All right, everybody, that's it. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna hang it up some kind of way. Oh, do I have everybody's approval to post this on YouTube?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
That means we already on Facebook.
Right.